Alrighty, nothing on this channel is actually financial advice. We are just two individuals on the internet just talking about other things on the internet. We are not responsible for any kind of investment, legal, accounting, or any other types of decisions that you actually end up making. And if you are actually upset with what you actually buy based off of this show, please send an email to Pete. He will actually personally respond to you. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to the Byte Show. This week has been kind of a crazy week in meme token land. I've realized that I could have made a lot of money if I held my fucking Pepe. But regardless, it's okay. We're here. We have some great innovative chats with some old friends here. Evan, how are you doing? GJ, how are you doing? There's kind of a rekindling, a resparking of a long-term connection here between you two.
That connection never left.
Yeah, I don't even know what he's talking about. Me and GJ talk all the time behind your back, Joseph. Usually
really?
about you.
Yeah. Oh, holy shit. Okay, well that's kind of scary. That's intimidating. GJ, what are you up to? What has it been like? I know that the first time you came onto the show, you and Evan had kind of like hit it off with talking about Flipside, everyone's favorite little data provider in the ecosystem, and now kind of evolving to being something much more profound at the ecosystem level. But you got something interesting cooking up over there at the MetricsDAO.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be back. I did try to track Pete down in Austin. Super busy guy, jet setting, building cool shit. So I do my best to stay up on Obi where I can. I read the chats and really excited to see, what you've got cooking over there, Evan. As for what I've got cooking, I'm here to talk about MetricsDAO. I'm here to talk about decentralized data, labor markets, building a protocol and an app that actually have utility for millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people, and what it's like to be part of a team that's shipping. So that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, GJ, I just wanted to recall the first interview that we did. I know I just told the story in the green room, but I can tell it now live to the people watching. Pete and I Pete scheduled the interview with Flipside, whom I had not heard of. And I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. It's like a data analytics thing. I'll just wing it. No worries. Pete can kind of, handle the interview, and I'll come in with color and think quick like I usually do. And then like 5 minutes before the show, Pete's like, oh man, I double booked, or I have a flight, or his internet was canceled or something. So I jumped on with you and with Dave. It was the first time I had met either of you. And in the back of my head, I'm like, oh no, this is going to be brutal. I hope these guys are, have some riz, because this is going to be a rough one. And, you and Dave ended up killing it. It was like, I understood the product right away. I was like, this is super cool and unique. And it ended up being like one of my favorite interviews of all time. And I would think that we've had a kinship ever since, even though Joseph pretends that we're rekindling something here. But that was Flipside Crypto. This is MetricsDAO. Let's just pretend like I'm winging it again, and I haven't done a ton of research all morning on this. Let's pretend like I have no idea what MetricsDAO is. Yes. What is the difference between MetricsDAO and Flipside, and what is the relationship between the two? I'm curious to know, even though I already know secretly.
Yeah, absolutely. So if I were, talking to someone who's coming across it for the first time, Flipside started a bounty program 2 years ago, a little more than 2 years ago at this point, to reward people in native tokens for doing blockchain analysis. It was wildly successful, over $3 million in bounties paid out. Just tremendous quality and quantity of analysis. And we formed what, in my unbiased view, is the best analyst community in the world. However, in Web3, some folks don't want to work with a centralized provider like Flipside. It's a company, does great work, but it's still a company. So there was a strong demand that we saw, this would have been late in 2021, for being able to do analysis with whatever data source you wanted in a truly decentralized fashion. So we took some of our, top talent, our best analysts from the Flipside end, and said, also me, and said, hey, see what you can spin up. So Flipside provided some seed capital and reached out, to other people in the space, to other data providers, formed a council, a bunch of Dune wizards, I guess probably some Arch wizards by this point. They've gotten their Hogwarts diplomas, the Graph and some others, to form this DAO for analytics production and doing cool things with data. And so MetricsDAO has grown out of that to become exactly that, a conglomerate of data providers something like 35 at this point data partners to be able to continue to produce the same type of high quality analytics that the Flipside community produced, but to do it in a truly decentralized global fashion. And I'm happy to talk more about what that looks like, but that's it in a nutshell.
So you guys have been nose down building this past bear market. You guys have launched essentially the app interface for this. Is the app kind of the way that you envision and see these labor markets actually being interacted with from the various different like parties? Because I know it's pretty complex when you think about community-based analytics. There's a lot of different teams and a lot of different stakeholders involved. There's the analysts themselves, there's the peer reviewers, and then there's also the clients themselves seeking the insights. And then that's not even talking about the behind the scenes about actually launching data support and all the data engineering that you have to do. How intimate is the vision for the app to actually kind of make this as a programmable, almost as a labor market of networks?
Yeah, super excited to talk about the tech, super excited to talk about the network creation. Let me lay a little bit of groundwork first for how bounties work in Web3. You know, a lot of people run bounties layer 3, but broadly speaking, somebody wants work done. Somebody wants a report or they want a dashboard. They want to know about curve pools. They want to know, what was FTX up to? What was SBF doing behind the scenes? Anything that can be answered on chain. Some people have the skill to do it themselves and make a lot of money with it. Typically, they don't really want to share that alpha with anybody else. Others say, hey, I need an answer, and I'm happy for it to be public. I'm happy for it to be transparent, and I'm willing to pay for it. And others don't have the time, or they don't have the skill, or they don't have the specialization to be able to dig deep into on-chain data and do it themselves. So those folks, some of them might go to Nansen, for example, or they might be content, reading existing dashboards, but sometimes the answer hasn't been provided before. And so they want to tap into community analysts and pay those folks to go produce a dashboard or produce a piece of analysis, produce a report or whatever. And so they'll put a bounty on it. That is very labor intensive. It takes a lot of work to find the analysts that you want to find, even to just know, who's going to be the best. And even if you know somebody on Twitter, Mark Hugh or Adria or Pinehurst or whoever is the best of the best, maybe you don't have a relationship with them, or maybe they won't answer your DM because their DMs are closed because everybody else is DMing them. And so having a framework to be able to produce these type of analytics at scale and to be able to answer questions about what's going on in a blockchain, how do you find alpha? How do you make money? How healthy is an ecosystem? How is it doing versus its competitors? Where are the tokens going? There was a lot of demand for that. There wasn't really the infrastructure for that. So Flipside started with that. It was great. Provide the best data in the space and then cultivate an analyst community. What we saw is there needed to be better tech. There needed to be infrastructure to be able to handle tens or hundreds or thousands, ultimately tens of thousands of requests a month for this type of high volume inquiry into what's happening on chain. MetricsDAO has cultivated and built up the Metrics protocol to basically be the backbone, form the tech to be able to create marketplaces for people who have questions to get matched with analysts who are willing to do the work and get paid in tokens to create that. And then to publicize that, put it on Twitter, share it with clients, share it with partners, share it with ecosystems. That's what we've built with the Metrics app, with the protocol, with the supporting tech that makes all that happen. I'm happy to dive into the specifics of what exactly we've built, but that's what it's intended to do.
Yeah, I think it's super cool too, because you've got this unique opportunity presented by the fact that the data is publicly available on these blockchains. Typically with like private enterprise or traditional enterprise, which we're starting to call legacy enterprise even at this point, aside from Web3, they have these silos of data, and really like maybe they have some internal people looking at it, but for privacy reasons or for whatever, there's not really the same opportunity there as there is with blockchain. And then you guys take it even a step further, where now you've created this marketplace where it doesn't matter what your background is. It's basically just the best of the best. The cream rises to the top. Anybody can come in, and you create this sort of open marketplace for people to come in and either issue bounties or respond to those bounties. So curious, what does it look like from someone who wants to issue a bounty? Are there any restrictions on which chains they can be in? Is there a restriction on how much the reward they need to offer is? What are the steps look like for someone that wants to come in and like utilize this?
Yeah, absolutely. So part of the ethos of MetricsDAO as a DAO is permissionless. So anyone can come. The app is open to anyone to use. We provide the documentation and support to use it. And also, we hang out in Discord and chat with people who want to know more about what they can do. But the short answer is it's permissionless. You can come, launch a challenge, put whatever reward tokens on it that you want. There are some limitations about what our payment rails can handle, but that's scaling up rapidly to handle ever more tokens and options. And you can also define, what your criteria are. You can say, make a simple dashboard about Curve, for example, or you can provide a full spec and say, here's exactly what I want. Here's the type of person that I want to be able to handle it. And we are rapidly moving toward a badge system where you can say, all right, I want someone, this is a Solana NFT question. I want to look at Mad Lads. I want people who have done 500 Solana bounties before and are in the top 10% of their class, let's say. And we can say, oh, great. There's a badge network, a network that's been badged with those criteria. And so we'll get into badges and networks as well. But you'll be able to specify, this is coming very soon, what networks of analysts or what criteria you want for the people who can actually tackle it. And the same for the people who QA it. So you can get paid to solve the challenge. You can get paid to review the challenge. But the challenge can be whatever you want it to be. And people can use any data provider they want, any data source that they want to answer that. So as long as the data exists and someone is willing to go to a data provider and pull that data, they can answer it. We don't specify you have to use Dune or Flipside or Nansen or The Graph or Covalent or any of the other, fine data providers out there. Use whatever data you want to answer the challenge. And if you're creating the challenge, put whatever specifications or requirements on it that you like. The better the specs, the better the outputs, but that's entirely up to you. You can ask anything and the community of analysts that's out there will be able to tackle it. And then another community, a smaller community of reviewers will ensure that it's up to snuff and apply criteria, QA it, and all the results are open. They're all on chain. So it's very public, it's transparent, it's decentralized. These are the things that we've tried to build.
I want to dig a little bit deeper, kind of what the team that you have there that's actually operating this whole thing. That's kind of one of the most interesting components of MetricsDAO that I witnessed when I first arrived. Back in the day when I first joined Flipside, one of the first things that we were kind of tasked to do was to kind of start up the whole live streaming process for MetricsDAO. And we got really intimate with the education system. And I realized how many just Web3 random people from the internet kind of just moseyed their way into the Discord and were like, I want to help. I want to contribute. I want to be part of this, like whatever you guys are doing, because I love the mission and I love the insights that are actually being driven here. How crucial and just how impactful really is the community? Because I only had a limited exposure to kind of the growth team. Is that kind of the vibe throughout the whole basis of MetricsDAO, and that's how enamored and how impassioned people really are?
Yeah, DAO is very different than a company. At least my experience has been. So we have, to answer your question directly, we've got 3 pods. We've got the community pod, where my role is as a community elder, but not as pod leader. We have the education pod, which provides free education courses and training for anyone who wants to come and learn how to do this. We'll teach you. We'll show you the way. We have a 101 course. We have a 201 course. We're launching expansion packs to go beyond 201, basically to take anyone who wants from 0 to hero. And so there's a whole pod that's dedicated to those educational offerings and also teaching people to use different data providers. So we'll provide free webinars, community calls, and training on specific data providers out there to enable analysts to advance their skill sets and enable data providers to get new people and new blood who are interested and competent and capable of using their specific data and their tooling. And then we have the challenge operations pod, which is responsible for structuring these challenges using the protocol. So we are power users of the Metrics protocol. Anyone who wants can come and use it themselves, can come and use the app that's built on top of the protocol. But we also have a dedicated pod that structures these and can work with you to launch challenges and structure rewards, ensure quality. And so, of those pods, 2 of the pod leaders are female. One of them is a non. I would say a significant portion, but not a majority of are contributors within those pods, I have no idea who they are, where they live. I've never met them IRL. And so it all takes place in Discord and Telegram and to some extent on Twitter. And it really is just a sublime experience to work with people from all over the world, most of whom I've never met, very diverse crew. Even for crypto, we've got the tech bro like stigma, but in this case, like we have people from all over the world, at least for those who I do know where they are. And together we are building decentralized permissionless technology that anyone can use to produce great analytics and get paid for it, or to provide challenges for others to solve and, reward them, empower them, and in exchange get the answers that they're seeking. So community drives all of it. I can't say enough good things about it. Something like 5,000 on Discord, something like 8,000 Twitter followers, which given, the challenges, like we're not venture backed, we haven't done token sales or anything like that. This is largely bootstrapped, both flip side and client revenue, making it work. It's awesome to see how much ownership, community has taken over every aspect of this: delivery, governance, fostering a community, execution, all of it.
Yeah, it's cool. Like anybody, any Joe Schmo. I mean, not to like make it sound negative, but you could just come in here and if you've got the chops to do data analytics, some of the rewards are. I mean, these aren't like insignificant amounts. I see like 1,400 USDC, 2,000 USDC. I also see 3,000 M beta 2, and somewhere else on the site here, I saw our metric. Is that like a score system? What is that? What's our metric?
Our metric is a reputation token. So part of what we're trying to do is to pay people, but also to enable them to build up their profiles and ultimately be able to do this full time, to freelance, to get jobs in Web3. There's a lot of good training out there, Web3 Academy, Web3 Builders Academy, Developer DAO. There's a million opportunities to train devs in various ecosystems. There's not a lot of dedicated analyst training out there. And so we're providing it. We're trying to fill that niche. And that also includes, how do you tweet? How do you meme? How do you shitpost? We just did our first like small batch Twitter pro course on how do you raise your Twitter profile as an analyst. We're going to refine that and then expand that. And so every element of how do you be a successful Web3 analyst, part of that is building up reputation and capturing the value, the social value of what you've done. So you get paid, but you also build up competency. You can earn badges. And our metric is one of the ways that we do that. Over time, that surfaces for us who are the people who are grinding. And then we can introduce them to each other to form what's called, a network. We have a bunch of these, and networks are some seeded by us, but the majority are self-generated. They're groups of analysts or reviewers or professionals who want to work together to deliver better work than they can do individually. And this we are unbelievably excited about. We're already seeing these networks earn thousands of dollars. Ultimately, our view is that networks can basically spin out into teams or conglomerates. Some of them might go on to launch protocols, but just by facilitating this networking and introducing people with varied skill sets to each other, we are seeding Web3 with this constellation of groups of extremely talented people who are friendly, who are brainstorming together, ideating together, making cool shit. And MetricsDAO is, fostering that and incubating that. I have an unlimited, bullish sentiment towards this. The sky is the limit for what these networks are going to be able to accomplish.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. Just watching how the community has kind of interacted with the release of the new app, it's kind of been entertaining to see the grading process actually happen in real time. There have been some analysts that just don't hold back. Like it is really is like this kind of doxed experience, doxed on the chain per se. Doxed on the chain, you actually get to see individuals opinionating on the grades themselves of the dashboards, and they're ruthless. They don't hold back. This is like a real actual process, and it's just been interesting to see that evolve. And I can't wait to see more of a network activity where there are people trusting this DAO for their insights. And I truly believe in that actual infrastructure. And to kind of further a little bit looking down the line, this is a little bit of a meta question, and I know what you guys have essentially developed is sort of this labor market specifically for for Web3 analytics. Do you see there being this ability for the MetricsDAO app and even just the modularity of it to kind of expand and start entering itself into further labor markets and actually start fostering more of these network effects in different niche communities that actually will need some form of permissionless work sourcing?
Hell yes. I'll go a little further, but absolutely. There's no reason that the tech that we have built is restricted to Web3 on-chain analytics. That's our DNA. That's where a lot of our contributors come from. That's my background. Data's in our DNA. It's, critical to what we do. There is no reason you couldn't use the labor marketplace that we've built and the tech we've built to launch challenges for non-Web3 data analytics, for things that aren't analytics. The marketplace fundamentally matches people who are doing labor with people who are seeking labor, and it builds out the payment infrastructure for them to be able to get paid on chain with all the benefits and the occasional drawback that enables. That is infinitely scalable. This is one example of what an actual Web3 based utility looks like. We are providing something that can genuinely solve problems, a decentralized Fiverr, a decentralized LinkedIn. It may not be either of those things, but those are good comps for what this is. We have created infrastructure that leverages the power of the protocol. This app is the first. There will be others, or there may be others if people want to come and build. They can do that. And this can scale, infinitely. It can scale to anyone who's looking for work, either to do work or to post work. That's what we are building towards. That's the foundation that we're laying.
I'm looking right now at a chart, or I guess rather a dashboard from Zanyar _98. So shout out to that person. Flows of ETH to centralized exchanges, and they did ETH and BTC, and it looks like there's it's like almost a live chart, right? It updates occasionally. The last update was this morning. So it seems like there's a lot of good analysis you could do here, almost, to help with like trading or with, anything, spotting trends, right? There's a reason that people are doing this. It's not for no reason. And so, I'm curious, like, just to kind of distill this down further to an example, GJ, let's say I wanted to create one of these dashboards. All right. And my goal is I want to see all the assets that are available to borrow on the largest lending platforms like Aave, Compound.
Sure.
I want to see the amount that's being borrowed on like an hourly basis so that I know, hey, all of a sudden, like a ton of ETH just got borrowed by a whale.
Yeah.
It might be time to short this or to sell my bag or whatever, which I think that's like an applicable thing that could be helpful.
Absolutely.
For people. How much do you think I would have to put into a bounty in order to make that happen?
So my answer would be, give me $300. I'll take a 20% cut. Find an analyst who's willing to do it for $240. I would say, just as a really high level, there are some questions where you want multiple answers and some challenges where you just want one person to solve it. And the great thing about what we're building is the ability to calibrate who can answer it, how many people can answer it. Sometimes you get ideas or you find strategies by looking at 5 different answers to the same question. Other times you want to pick one person with expertise or one network with expertise and have them knock it out. So, just because you can do it for $250, that might be the going rate, for a top analyst to be able to produce like an all-star answer. But you can also say, I'm going to put $2,000 on this and extract $10,000 worth of value from the answers that I'm getting. That's where the ability to calibrate each, challenge and specify who's going to answer it, how many people are going to answer it, what qualifications did they need to have. Super valuable.
Yeah, it's like one of these big-brained, hedgy type, Web3 crypto guys could essentially immediately employ an army of analysts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I think that's really cool.
And for a lot of projects, right? Like maybe you would pay, a dedicated top Web3 analyst, let's just say $100,000 a year, something like that. Might be more at a hedge fund or some VCs, but something in that ballpark. For a lot of projects, like small projects that have launched, even someone like Obi, for example, that are planning, a launch at some point, like that's a really hefty cost for a cash-strapped project. Even a venture-backed, a seed round, 1 mil, 2 mil, 3 mil, like paying someone 100 grand a year, that's hefty. So if you can just get that on demand from some of the best analysts in the space, but only pay for what you need, pay $2,000 or $5,000 at a pop, that's a lot more impactful and affordable for a lot of projects that don't have these massive coffers to be able to, hire 1 or 2 or more on-chain analysts.
Right. Even like project verification, if you want to sort of like get some evidence that you're in the right direction, if you're, thinking of a project, I mean, something simple like, hey, what are the daily active users across chain?
Yep.
Should I be building on chain X or chain
Sure.
Y? That's pretty valuable information,
Yeah, we see dozens of those dashboards a week, and part of the benefits of doing this, we spun up MetricsDAO, I want to say October 29th, something like that of 2021. People have been doing this for long enough that they have become very, very, very good at it. And so I have an extremely high opinion of our analyst community and the types of things that they're able to produce, and to produce quickly. We see typically we'll structure challenges for 5 days or a week, but it can be faster than that. And so there's the ability to analyze things as they're happening as well. You get that level of speed and rapidity and flexibility as a result of having a community that's always on. So there's always someone who's willing to tackle something. It's something that we can offer that, again, if your analyst is on vacation, your in-house analysts, and, some market crashes or something goes huge or whatever, you're kind of out of luck.
Okay. I'm interested in seeing the screen share of the beta app. Do you have that up or handy? Because I want to see interaction with this actual marketplace, because I'm a fan of seeing this stuff happen in off the chain, because that's the true representation of how this market is operating. There's always this drama between like, this analysis is better, this analysis is objectively better, and you can see all of that within the app. You can see that conversation, and that permissionless component to it is my favorite objective component to it, is that you can see this happening real time, just as much as you would be able to see governance decisions being made at the governance level for networks. So we'd love to see what you guys have cooked up with the beta version.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to connect a wallet here. First of all, are you seeing the analytics marketplaces?
Yes, we are.
Cool. So just a really high level overview then. And the reason I don't want to go all the way through is because for anybody who's watching, V2 is coming and it's going to be a pretty dramatic upgrade. So I don't want to show a flow because something like that's going to blow it out of the water is on the horizon. But I will walk through some of this. And anybody who wants to sleuth stuff on chain, like, you're welcome to do so. And I would encourage that. But here we are. Fundamentally, like the major unit of what we've built is a marketplace. And so the ability to create a marketplace and specify criteria, is at the heart of it. It would make me connect a wallet to do that. If I were to do so, I would then be able to go and specify what are the rewards, what are the criteria of the challenge, what, data set or data sets do I want, to analyze here. And you can see these active marketplaces, and within marketplaces, there are challenges. So a challenge you can think of as similar to a bounty. There are 11 of these that are live. The skill forge, so the M beta, is a valueless token. That's the opportunity to come and practice and actually go through the flow and get good at it. But then there are live challenges as well. Flash challenges are for super fast. If I want a 24-hour turnaround, I really need some alpha quickly, I'm going to go hammer that. That's what that's for. The Pine Analytics Marketplace is for our Pine network, the Pine Champions. It's a group of top analysts that have spun up their own sort of mini conglomerate and do paid work. They have their own Twitter profile. They have their own following. And they're basically, you can subcontract to that group almost like a legacy company. There are a bunch of these. And And so fundamentally, these marketplaces have almost infinite, or will offer almost infinite flexibility in terms of calibrating what you want your challenge to look like, how much you're going to pay, who can solve it, how many people can solve it, et cetera, et cetera. I'll take a really quick look at the showcase. So this is where you can actually look at submissions when they were submitted. The R metric is the reputation of the analyst who submitted it. So I'll click into this one. This is the score. 3 people reviewed it. They all reviewed it as good. I know personally one of these analysts, Hassam, is great. And so the others are unknown to me, but anyone, I think this one was anybody could claim to review. The reviewers who claimed had a preposterous amount of R metric, which is a proxy for the reputation. And let's take a look at it. I can click on this dashboard. Anyone can come and do this. This was made in Flipside.
You might have to switch the tab.
Oh, I have to switch tab.
Yeah.
Cool. Let me share the tab instead. So I clicked on the dashboard. Is this showing the layer 0 flow?
We can see it. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a Flipside dashboard. It was made with Flipside data. I think the challenge for this one, for layer 0, you could use any data provider. So anyone who had the access to layer 0 data, any data provider would be eligible. This is what decentralized analytics looks like. But Mozzie is a gem. She's a Flipside gem. And so she did this on Flipside. She's got this nice tab dashboard. She's got the intro. She's got the
beautiful. Love the colors.
Yeah, a little bit about her. And then if I want to share this on Twitter, I can do that. If I want to refresh the data, I can do that, and that'll reload and refresh. I can heart it. And if I were to go deeper into Flipside, there's the top 8 tournament we have right now. And the more hearts you get, you actually get paid for being one of the top 8 dashboards. So I'm here for MetricsDAO, not for Flipside, but that's a cool thing that they're running. And so this dashboard got reviewed. It got a good. It's going to get paid 185 USDC.
Is good the top score that you can get?
Stellar is the top. It's as high as you can go. But good is good. Like, I'll go back to this dashboard for a sec. And without diving deep into accuracy or whatever, or spot checking it, that's what the reviewers are doing. This is reloading because I refreshed.
Yeah.
But it's colorful. It's nicely structured by transactions. The visualizations are laid out, and then there's supporting information. You can compare Arbitrum, Optimism, Polygon, Avalanche, Ethereum here. And so without, spending all our time doing analysis or whatever, good is quality. Stellar means like this is, professional grade, VC hedge fund grade. That's typically what you see for a stellar submission.
And then in those stellar submissions, I'm assuming that it gets down into the almost just database knowledge, because I'm sure that when you structure queries, and I've ran into this myself, if I get a query and I'm trying to look at something, just not being a seasoned data analyst and not understanding how the data is structured and what I'm actually pulling into my data, sometimes you're going to have artificial data points, or you're even missing something and you're inflating stuff. So you don't actually always know that your first attempt at querying is actually accurate. So I'm assuming, like, to get to that stellar level, it gets to that point where it's a pretty specialized like person who understands specific activity that's happening on the Solana network and can identify those, prune their data, and actually start zeroing in on almost the closest thing you can to like a source of truth. And I guess what I'm just kind of getting at is I'm assuming that when someone puts a dashboard out there, you're going to have like an expert of that ecosystem reviewing it, because it's really hard for an analyst that's like an expert in Solana to just all of a sudden transfer over and try to do a dashboard in Ethereum. I'm assuming there's kind of like a balancing effect there that's going on.
Yeah, so some skills are transferable, SQL knowledge, data wrangling, how to write effectively, how to tweet well, advertise your work. Those are transferable across ecosystems, but you're right that a lot of it requires both specialized expertise of data structures for a particular blockchain, and also just being in the know, having your finger on the pulse, knowing who the Evan of Solana is, knowing who to follow. That stuff is ecosystem specific. And so we do see specialists both at the reviewer level and the analyst level for people who specialize in one or two ecosystems. There are a few superstars who are good across ecosystems and do this full time. But for the most part, we do see people tend to specialize in one or two ecosystems. And that's why it's so powerful to be able to specify, I want a top Solana analyst. I want a top Ethereum analyst. I want a top Ethereum reviewer. Being able to choose what you're looking for is very, very powerful. That customizability. And most people don't know right off the bat, other than, the top, handful, Mark Hugh for Solana, or Ban Bernard, or Rain, or Hawk, or, Hill Dobby for Ethereum. Like, it's difficult to know what a really high quality analyst is or looks like if you're not already in the space. That's something that MetricsDAO handles for you. That's something that our community produces for you.
Yeah, I don't really have a question here, GJ, but just to kind of talk more on the point you just made, like, I think in crypto, and if you're on Twitter following sort of the trends and whatever's going on, like, Pepe, as we mentioned at the top of the call here, is like the new thing. But as these trends kind of evolve and change, there always like comes up with in these threads like some question, or someone will just post something that's like this specific metric that somebody wants, and someone will post either like a Dune Analytics graph or a Flipside graph, and like that becomes almost like the de facto sort of like, oh, check that to see, whatever this question is, right? Like with Arbitrum, whenever they issued their airdrop, it was all about like how many people had sold the airdrop, so that people know when they can kind of like, where's the bottom, when can they buy back in. And I think having all of those things like, crowdsourced and in one place where anybody can come in and kind of like prove their chops at it, I really see the vision on this. I think it's going to be super cool, and it'll be great to even without those trends, you can come in and look at the showcase, as you guys call it, and start to get ideas on like, oh, okay, like here's what I'm looking for price action in one ecosystem versus another, or whatever. I think it's I don't know. I'm excited to see this thing grow.
Yeah, it's the type of thing where the better you get at the whole Web3 thing, the more there is to learn. And so if you're an active trader, you get better and better at understanding what questions are important. What are the things that I need to be paying attention to? What biases do I have as a trader? And how do I sanity check those? Or how do I ensure that I'm not being influenced by my own proclivities, by my own tendencies? And when you get to that point in Web3, being able to go one level deeper than it's the distribution, like, new project I ape, and then the stressed out guy in the middle being like, well, the on-chain indicators, and then on the other side, it's like new chain I ape. That may be to some extent how the vast majority of us conduct business, but there is a huge amount of information to be gleaned just by doing your homework and doing your due diligence and having something to look at for the Arbitrum airdrop to say, does this match the hype? Does it exceed the hype? What's going on here? And by the time you're at that point, you start to really appreciate the value of having people to do your research for you. There's DYOR, absolutely, that never goes away, but being able to rely on the work that others have done, especially when it's public, when you can see when it was last updated, when you can check the analyst who made it on Twitter and find out what their background is. That's what we're trying to produce. This is effectively a public good for the entire space. These dashboards are public. The showcase is public. None of this is paywalled. We want people to come and be able to find what they're looking for and use that to improve whatever it is they're trying to improve.
I want to just kind of, I think I've ran out of questions at this point, unless Evan, you've got any, but I want to dig in a little bit deeper. What's coming up next for MetricsDAO?
Sure.
I know you guys have got the V2 version coming up. Is that the next thing on the roadmap, or is there anything else that people should be looking out for?
Yeah, V2 is going to be a dramatic upgrade. It's going to improve the payment rails, the ability to get paid faster and permissionlessly. So that's, there's big upgrades to the payment infrastructure that's coming. There's also the customizability I keep mentioning, the ability to gate marketplaces like at a more granular level for analysts, for reviewers. There's going to be huge upgrades coming to that in V2. And we're really excited about that. There's some UX UI changes that are coming as well. So that's a big thing. And then a lot of work that's coming on networks. And not all of this is going to be in the app itself. Some of this is in parallel. But as a DAO, we're really focused on making it easier to find existing networks, to create your own, to know the criteria for being able to join a network. And our view, or at least my view, is like these are partly alpha groups and partly like sub communities, almost sub DAOs. Being part of a network is going to have all the benefits of being part of your own specialized Telegram group, except that everybody else who's in there is going to have some specialized verifiable criteria. They'll all be expert Solana analysts. They'll all be people who have done 200 Ethereum dashboards. They may be like, there may be, in fact, there is a quasi-secret network for GJ's Alpha Group. You know, we're excited to make it easier for people to find these and form these and participate in them and use them for fun, for camaraderie, for alpha, for skill building. We think that combining the tech that we have to be able to let people show their stuff with the ability to easily grant badges and create networks and have those networks compete with each other and collaborate with each other, that's going to take the ability to do on-chain work up to 11. That's, you know, the ability to have these specialized networks that can do great work, that can prove the value of their work, and to be able to see what other networks are doing. In my view, it doesn't exist in Web3. It's a huge step forward in terms of labor markets and what those markets are able to accomplish. And so we're really excited about that development and the steps to make that easier as well.
I'm so excited. I actually might have a private consulting opportunity for GJ's Alpha Group that I may be asking you about after the stream. I don't want to say it on stream because I don't want anyone else to be on my tail for this. But I'm working on some interesting stuff with subtrading algorithms. So I'm definitely gonna need a little bit of help with the historical data and that side of analysis. So there's a lot of stuff I want to incorporate. But yeah, I'm excited. Evan, do you have anything else before we wrap up here?
No, that's it. GJ, it's a pleasure to talk to you again. Sorry you couldn't run into Pete. I know he's the busiest man on earth sometimes down in Austin. How was Consensus this year, I guess, just to take us totally off the rails and on a new tangent before we wrap up?
Yeah, for sure. Consensus was good. It was smaller than last year, but it was still hopping. I want to say 15,000 people instead of maybe 20 or 25 or whatever. But the people who were there, you could tell they were serious, right? Anyone who's still here and still genuinely building is in it for the long haul. I had a lot of great conversations, you know, wearing my MetricsDAO hat for potential data partners. We did a juice hang at Juiceland with a whole bunch of juice and smoothies and data providers, talking data, talking standards with prospective clients for MetricsDAO, people who want to fund challenges at, you know, major scale. So it was really productive. I would venture to say, you know, profitable, but also just like really rewarding to catch up with old friends, to go hang, to find out what people are building, keep my finger on the pulse of everything that's happening. So really good trip.
Did you have any gin in your juice?
This was like 10 in the morning. So I would say not that juice. There is a really good gin bar in Austin called Garage. Shout out Garage. It's in a parking garage. It's not as much of a secret as it used to be. They've labeled like cocktails now at the top of the garage, but you actually have to walk in and it's a gin joint, like cool lighting, great cocktails. So if you're ever in Austin, you know, roundabouts 5th Street, check out Garage. There was gin in my gin at Garage. But also I should shout out Juiceland. Great juice, great smoothies, great way to recover from the debaucheries of the night before, you know, if you're into that kind of thing. So thanks Juiceland for hosting the MetricsDAO data partner hang. Really appreciate y'all.
Excellent. Well, that seems like that's our cue to wrap it up once we start talking about bars to go to instead of the task at hand. GJ, I appreciate you jumping on, man. As always, it's a pleasure to chat with you. Joseph, anything else you want to say? I'll let you take it away. You're better at that
No,
than I am.
got nothing else left. We've got some good live streams upcoming. I'm cooking up on some good guests. We've got Hyperliquid X team coming on. There's a new trading platform that's booting up on Arbitrum right now, so you can actually deposit using Arbitrum. And then we have someone from Prime Protocol built on the Axelar stack coming on the show as well. So we've got some lovely guests lined up. So can't wait to see everyone on the next shows. Thank you so much, DJ, for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate the chance to come talk MetricsDAO.
All right, jazz hands out.